Okay, so for each of these three, these are three different exercises. I'm going to open up Crest Maker first. I've already opened Illustrator. I'm going to go to File and create a new document. And the first thing it's going to ask me is, what size do I want it to be? The size of each of these documents fits on a tabloid size. What size is a tabloid sheet of paper? 11 by 17, very good. There's your height and width right there. And actually the orientation is it's going to be landscape. Everything else, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to keep it the same. Say OK. So here's my page that I'm working out with. Let's move things out of the way so I can see it. If you want to place a picture into here, of course you can click it and drag it into Illustrator. You've got it opened up. Another way is you can go to File, down to Place, and actually find the picture. Once you place this in here, here are your instructions. You're going to place this onto an Illustrator file. I want you to lock down the image layer that this is on. And so you can go to your Layers palette, usually down at the bottom right-hand corner. See how it's on its own layer? To lock it down, click right there, and now, no matter what I do, you can see I can't draw or change up anything that's on this layer because it's locked. What I will do is I'll make a new layer, on top of it, and layer 2 is what we will be working on. From this one, I can draw and move things around. Using the pen tool, so I want you to practice using the pen tool. I want you to recreate. I've given you, I think, about 30 different crest shapes. These are all different types of outlines that you can use for your project. So this right here, this would be a crest type shape. This is a crest type shape. Yeah, all of these. What do you notice about each one of these? Something very simple about their design. They're symmetrical. They look the same on one side as they do on the other. So what you're going to do for this project is redraw each of these crest shapes using your pen tool, and you're going to flip them and create the whole crest shape from there. Here's how to do it. So I'll zoom back out. Grab your pen tool. I'm going to zoom in. This is the Boy Scout fleur-de-lis. This is the first one. With my pen tool, you know how to use this. Start off with just one click. I usually work from the top to the bottom. One click. What I do is I usually move about halfway through a line. So I know here's a starting point, here's an ending point. I would go about halfway. So right about here, click and drag and just get it to match up that line. I'll even zoom in so you can see what I'm working with. And it's pretty close. I could still move around. I'm not going to click on this again. I'm just going to click right here and drag out until it fits. Pretty good. Now since this one is a sharp turn, if I was to click here, it's going to give me a curve right there. I don't want that. So that's how, if you click this again, it will get rid of that last Bezier curve. And now when I click here, you get a straight edge. Just moving along, and I've done this so many times I kind of know what to look for and what to expect for creating these. So I'm going around. Oh, that one's off by a little bit. Notice that I've got a fill color of white, so I'm going to go over to my fill color and turn that off. So now it's null. I'm just drawing with a black outline. If you want to adjust this Bezier curve is adjusting this curve right here. Hold down your Option key and you get this icon. This icon with the Option key held down will allow me to click and adjust my curve on the fly. And I can still now keep clicking and dragging to recreate it. Click around, it's off by a little bit, Option key, click and drag. Click and drag, click and drag. I'm going to click there again because it's a sharp point. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect because remember it's going to be scaled down, so if you're off by a little bit, that's okay. But the more you practice with the pen tool, the better you're going to get. All right, so I've got it completely traced off, top to bottom. If I was to swap up the foreground and stroke color, you can see it'll completely fill it in from there. Now comes the fun part. To make a copy of this, I'm going to select it, and I can either do Command C or Command V. And of course, that'll make a copy. Here's a quick way of making a copy. Click on it, hold down your Option key, and see how I've got kind of a double arrow when my Option key is held down? If you click and drag, that'll also make a quick copy of whatever you're working for. Pretty cool? I need to reflect this. So to reflect an object, hold down the Control key and click on your object. Remember, this is like right-clicking. Go under Transform, and there's Reflect. Reflect will, there we go, have a little dialog box. This will give you the option of, and you can see how you want it to be reflected, horizontally or vertically. Which one should I choose? Vertical, because you're going along that diagonal. You can give it a specific one. We don't really care about it. If you hit Preview, you'll get an idea of what it will look like. And so now you see it's, and we'll say OK. So now I've got it completely copied. Here's how to merge two objects together. Remember, I started my line at the top. I want this point and this point to be right on top of each other. So first of all, I'm going to move it right close, right about there. And I've got my smart guides turned on, so that'll help as well. To make sure it's perfect, I'm going to grab my white arrow direct selection tool. I'm just going to click on one point. So I've got this point. If I drag right on top of it, watch my cursor change. See how it snapped? See how, boom, right there. So now they're both selected. Let's do the same thing at the bottom. Uh-oh, too far. Grab this point. I'm going to move it right till it jumps right on top of it, right there. To join these two together, click and drag over both of them. Remember, the white arrow only selects individual points, so both of these are now selected. And you can go to Object, down to Path, and choose Join. Notice the hotkey is Command J. Once they're joined, now when I click on it, it's one solid path. Same thing at the top. Click and drag over them. So 2 points are selected. Command J will join them together. Looks like nothing happened, but now when I try to click, it's all one solid object from there. Pretty cool? This is what you're going to do for each of the different crests. You can use these crests as ideas for your patch design. So if you need a crest shape, use one of these crests. I want you to complete each one of these and practice using the pen tool, flipping, and create it. Now you've even got the fleur-de-lis Boy Scout recreated that you can work with. Any questions about this? Very, very cool. When you're finished, I want you to save the Illustrator file and upload the Illustrator file for me to Moodle. So that's this exercise. The other two are also very simple, and these are will help you type out text in a specific way. Let's do type lines first. So make a new Illustrator. Go away. New file, tabloid size, say OK. I'm going to place the new one in there. It's on my desktop. Name lines. You probably did this, something like this, in your intro class, but if you've never done this, I want you to practice it again. In Illustrator, you can type text, to follow a specific path. So if you wanted it to be curved, you make a curve and then type along that specific path. And I've given you, at least on mine, the font and the size and how it's created. Check out these logos. So for this particular patch, notice how the type is following the curve of it. This is how you can get your type to follow the specific curve of your patch. If you want it to, this one's really fancy. It's not just curved, it's actually following the outline shape of it. So if yours needs to follow the outline shape, here's how to do it. As with the rest of them, you'll start off with your pen tool. I'm going to choose my pen tool. Oh, let's make a new layer also. Lock down layer 1. I'm going to choose just kind of a no fill black line. and quickly recreate the line to work with. Pen tool. Very quickly redraw. It doesn't have to be perfect. Mainly I'm looking for, can you get the idea? Also, notice that when I clicked, if you want to be able to move around a line, hold down your space bar and you can move it into a particular place. Yeah, it's off by a little bit. Click and drag, click and drag. Uh-oh. We'll clean that line up a little bit later. Now that I've got my line, choose your type tool. Type tool is what you can create text. Watch what happens when I move my type tool close to this line. See how the icon changes? If I was to click once, I get a blinking cursor that allows me to type out my text. So the quick brown fox jumped, da 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 da. And notice that it's following my line. Over the lazy dog. As with any other one, I can highlight it. Can change my, got Myriad Pro, I want it to be bold and condensed. There it is. I want it to be 33 point. And you can see it actually pretty close to what I got. Here's another fun thing. If I choose my white arrow, my direct selection tool, so just the white arrow, I get some lines at the end, or the beginning, in the middle, and also at the end. These allow you to place exactly where you want your text to be. If I was to change the size of it, I'll drop it down to like, get a little bit bigger than that, 14 point. So this is at 14 point. If I was to click this first line and drag, I can choose where the starting point of my text will be. If I was to click the center line, of course it's not going to do anything. However, if I click and drag to this side, I can flip it, and now it's actually typing on the other side of it. And that can change my starting point to be over there. So those two lines are very, very important. Then there's one also at the end. You can change up where it ends at, but we don't really want to do that. So you can flip it to the top and change the starting point. Same way for sunrise. Notice that sunrise is a complete half circle. You can just use your ellipse tool, make a circle, then cut it in half. And now I've got my line to type on from there. Choose your text tool. This one, I'm asking it to be centered text. So I'm going to click right in the center of it.
Excuse me, sir?
Yes.
How did you cut the half?
Oh, how did I cut the circle? Okay, I'll back up and show you. So I made my circle. I chose my direct selection tool, the white arrow, and I selected just that bottom one and deleted. And so with it deleted, all that's left is this particular white one. Pretty cool? Let's see, text tool, click right in the center of it, sunrise. Notice that it's starting right there and it's typing to the left. So I need to change my orientation. And I can do this at the top, make it center. I would then need to go back in and change up my starting point. Notice that it stays in the center now. These two are very, very important. And use your white arrow to change it up. Make it bold. There we go. Make it 86 points. And it fits right on top of there. You do the same thing for each one. So you've got sunset. You're going to have to flip it. Here's another tricky one. I want this to be in a complete circle. So let's grab my circle tool again. Also, here's a fun tip. When you make a circle, you click and drag. You see how it's it goes to the edge. It's hard to line it up. First of all, hold down your shift key. There are two things you can do. Hold down your space bar and your mouse. Now I can move my circle around before committing to it. Get it right on there, just perfect. The space bar allows you to move it around. Or, if I know the center point, hold down your Option key. When you click and drag, it goes from the center point outward. And if you hold your Shift key, it'll be a lot better. The Option key is allowing me to do that. All right. Here's where a lot of people are going to mess up. So pay close attention to this. I'm going to get my type tool, zoom back in. If I just click, notice my cursor icon looks like this. If I click now and I start to type, it'll type inside of my circle. It's not what I want. I'll undo that. What I want to do is hold down the Option key and go in close. This is the icon that I want to have. With the Option key held down, this will allow me to type along the edge of it. So in this case, service, quality, oops, QUAL, yada yada, all the way around from there. Of course, I'm going to have to change my font size to 31 points. And just like the other ones, if I change up the position of this, I can change where I want each thing to be, where it should start off at. All cool? Any questions about that one? Very, very simple. Here's the last one I want you to do for this one. You figure out how to type text in a circle. Notice the top part is going this way and the bottom part is going this way. How would you do this? How would you set it up? What would be the first thing to do to recreate? We'll make y'all think.
Did you flip it?
No flipping required. Okay, let's break it down. What do you know about this? What shape is it in? Circle. So what are you going to do to draw a circle?
Two half circle.
Yeah, do a half circle. Grab your circle tool. Remember, your types on the bottom edge of whatever you have. So my circle that I draw has to follow the bottom edge of how to type and the bottom edge of in a circle. Okay? What do you notice? Do you notice anything? Is it the same circle? Would it be the same size? Not going to be the same size. So I'm going to need two different size circles. Let's do the top one first. So I'm going to make a circle. I'm looking at that top edge to line up along that one. If you press A, that'll give you your icon and delete it. So there's that circle. Let's make another circle. What's the L for the ellipse tool? It's good to know. Make another one that fits the bottom edge of this one. And then I'm just going to delete away the top one. So when you create and type on this one, you need two different circles in order for it to match up. All cool? When you're finished, recreate these, save it as an Illustrator file, and upload this one. Here's the last one. This is the most fun one. I love doing this when I do logos or when I do t-shirts. I do a lot of changing up of the text, and this is a fun, quick way to change text. So let's say, and this one's called Name Warp. Looks like this one. Place it in there. All right. So let's say you wanted to be able to manipulate a name and change up the text to fit a certain shape or to fit a certain style. Here's an example that I've given you. So I have the name John. And of course you can type it out, but I want to be able to fan out the name. I'm going to use my name as the example. And I want you to practice changing up each one of these. So I'll type out my name. Let's do it all. Let's use my full name. Benjamin. You can choose any font that you want as long as it's a bold font. So let's look at some Poplar Stack. Yeah, that's a good one. Good bold font. So if I wanted to change this up, first of all, I have my name created. Here's another thing to take note. I did this very quickly. If you use InDesign, you know when you have your type tool, you have to click and drag to make a type box to type in. In Illustrator, don't do that. Unless you have an entire paragraph of text, you don't need to create a type box. Instead, get your type tool, just click once, and start typing. If it's just one thing, this will give you a little bit more control over the size of it. Check this out. When I choose that, and I choose my selection tool, Now I can quickly change the size of it by doing that. If I did a paragraph box, wouldn't be able to do that. So that's just a side note. All right, so I've typed out my name. To change up the warp options, we're going to go to Object, down to Envelope, Distort, and choose Make with Warp. Again, that's under the Object menu. Object, Envelope, Distort, Make with Warp. That's going to bring up this Warp dialog box. I'll zoom in so we can see it. There are different styles of warping you can choose from. And you kind of get an idea of what each will do based on the little icon that they have. So if I wanted to arc it, if I turn on preview, you can see it will change up the text this way. And you can control the amount that it's bending based on that. Another thing you can do is control the distortion, whether it's vertical or horizontal. So if I wanted one side to be bigger than the other, or the vertical will bend it forward and back this way. It's not often that I change up this, but if you do several things at once, you can get some really cool kind of sporty different effects. So check that out. So if I wanted my name to flow that way. This is really good when you do a sports t-shirt or somebody wants a club t-shirt and they want it to stand out and have text bending. The warp options allow you to do this. When I hit OK, now it's saved. And I can move it around. There's one thing to remember, however. Notice that I can't type on this anymore. I actually have another object on top of it. This is called an envelope. Rather than changing the actual vector lines, it's making a new object and it's fitting the text inside of this object. I'll show you what I mean. So if I choose my type tool and I try to type again, it won't let me type inside of it. It just makes me type on top of it. If you want to change the text, here's what to do. First of all, select your object, go back up to Object, drop-down menu, Envelope Distort, and we want to edit the contents of this envelope. Now you can see I've got my tool and I can delete it away, and then just the word bin is being distorted into that envelope. Pretty cool? And if I move it around, whoops, didn't lock it down. Or if I add on to it, it'll put it back in there as well. If I go back to Object, Envelope Distort, I can edit the envelope, and then now I'm back in envelope distortion mode, which will do that as well. What I want you to do is go through each of the envelope warps and try to match the style that I'm giving you here. And each one's going to do something a little different. Do it with your name, however you want your name to be done over there. When you're done with each of these, save the Illustrator files, and I'll have a place on Moodle that you can upload them to there. Okay? All right. Y'all get started.
Just upload Illustrator or
Illustrator. Yeah, the Illustrator file. When you're finished with this, let me hit stop on this.